Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can I get some confirmations on the chat window? Yes, thanks, Sai Krishna, Sai Vikas, Sandeep, Sriram, Badrinath. So, first day, we'll wait for maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes for participants to come. But from tomorrow, we'll start exactly at 8. Agreed? Hi, Sandeep. So participants are joining. Let's wait and then we'll begin. So please bear with me for 5 minutes. Yes, Sarvesh, do you have any question? No, Shari, no one is talking now. We'll just wait for uh, 1 more minute because participants are just signing in, being the first day. Yes, Renga. Actually, I'll be the only person who will be speaking during this session. All the participants will be asking questions through the chat window, and I will read the question and handle them. Okay, so this works better so that you will have the similar clarity with the audio and there won't be disturbance. Yes, we will start now. Okay, so thank you for your patience. I am Sri Prakash Neelakandan. Welcome to this course, Amazon AWS Cloud Computing. So before we start, and before I introduce myself, there are some few points that I would like to handle. Firstly, let's decide to start at 8. So just be there maybe 5 minutes before so that you are signed up and ready with your desktop or laptop. I will also try to do the same thing. And this is an online live training. This is not a video recording. So what is the difference between a video recording and a live training? In live training, the most important thing is you can ask your questions. So I will encourage you to ask as many questions as possible. That will make the class more richer, interactive, and a small question can prevent you from further understanding and further experimentation. So please feel free to ask questions, and I will read them and answer during the gaps, or depending on the urgency, I will handle them. But before the end of the session, I will ensure that all the questions will be answered. And if there are questions which I cannot answer, I will study or research and come back the next day. Okay, clear? Okay, so if any candidate raises the hand icon, I can also ask them for any doubt. So like Sai has raised his hand, and surveys. Do you have any questions?
Hey, just I did not hear anything. Just I heard you saying that. Do you have any questions? So I wasn't sure if I did miss anything. That was
No,
my
no,
question.
no. You didn't miss anything. I'm only starting. But from tomorrow, I will start at 8. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, thanks. So please keep your mics unmuted. And then it is important that you try out the exercises. Like, I'll be demonstrating from tomorrow. So ensure that the course is practical. So definitely don't make it a video course like experience. You have to practice, you have to do the homework, and then only you will have more questions. Agreed? Yes? Yes, Vikas. Okay, now this is about me. I have been working with internet and cloud for say last 20 years, and last 6 to 7 years with all types of cloud computing. And total I have around 40 years of experience in the IT field, both hardware and software. And I have multiple Amazon certifications, including the Amazon DevOps Engineer Professional. So this I did the Developer Associate last year, and this year I did the Solutions Architect Associate and DevOps Engineer Professional. I am also authoring a book which will get published next year, next month, in Docker. So that is in a nutshell about me, and this is the support contact information. Now, between the sessions, like now we have weekend sessions. During the weekdays, I want you to experiment and try out the homework and do the exercises. You will encounter issues. So when you encounter issues, you have to report your problems to tax support at Collabra, which will reach me, and I will address them. But in order to save time, when you report, don't say this is not working. You say what is your platform, your Windows or Mac or your desktop environment, and what is the command that you have tried, and what is the error or what is the response that you are getting. So be technical in your reporting. That will also help you understand how to technically report an issue, so that will save my time, so that I can experiment and try out and give a single reply handling your solving your issue. And this course, AWS, that is Amazon Web Services course, has a huge potential in by way of Amazon certification. So you also should continue after this course with your studies, so that you prepare to get your Amazon certifications as well. But it needs some experience. Now, during the course, I will also want you to sign up for an Amazon account. So I will show you how to do that. That will only help you to do your exercises. So every participant should have an Amazon account during the course, which I will explain. And as far as possible, you are committing these 2.5 hours to attend the course. So ensure that you are distraction free, so that you can focus yourself on this course. So once again, welcome to this Amazon Web Services Cloud Computing course. Let's start. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing, often is referred to as simply cloud, is the delivery of on-demand computing resources. So today and tomorrow we will see some theory. Certain things may not be clear to you, but when we begin our practicals, these things will become clearer. Okay, so don't worry much about your clarity of understanding now. But if you have any questions related to these slides, please feel free to ask. Badrinath is not getting my voice. Yes, because I am, all the participants by default are muted. So if you have questions, please raise your hand and ask. Sherry, your hand is raised. You have any questions? And Badrinath, you need to check your audio system. See why you cannot hear. Yes, after say half an hour to 1 hour of the training of today, you will get the presentation as PDF, and after 5 to 6 hours, you will get the full video as well. That is clear, Sherry? Okay, so I think introduction. Okay, Vikas is wanting the introduction of the participants. Actually, that will take much longer time. So let's avoid introducing the participants at this time. Okay, so because we have to cover too many topics, so let's get on with the course. Agreed, Vikas? Thanks. Okay, so cloud computing is delivery of on-demand computing resources, everything from applications to data centers over the internet on a pay for use basis. That is, you pay for the number of hours or the number of computing resources that you use. Unlike a dedicated computer where you pay when you buy a computer. Here, supposing you need a heavy, high performance computer just for 1 hour, you only pay for that 1 hour. We will see this as we progress. Now, Cloud computing is internet-based computing where all IT resources like software, data, and other devices are provided on demand. This is again similar. Cloud computing is a new way, but now it is almost 10 years old, of delivering computing resources. But cloud computing completely changed the way we look at computers. Computing services ranging from data storage and processing to software such as email handling are now available instantly, commitment free, and on demand. Can you imagine, say 10 years ago, you used to use desktop based email clients like Eudora or some things like that, but now it's all web based and mostly Gmail, and Hotmail started this revolution, isn't it? So we will see the advantages as well. So main characteristics of cloud computing is on demand. That is, you use when you want. You don't need to install an email client on your desktop. Whenever you want, you start your browser and access your Gmail, for example. Then broad network access. That is, you can access your resources on a mobile phone or on a laptop or on a desktop or in any other country. For instance, if you are traveling and you don't carry your computer, you can log into any other computer and access your resources. And resource pooling. So you can also share your resources. And rapid elasticity. We will see how this works when we learn deeper into Amazon Web Services. Rapid elasticity means, see, for instance, you have a desktop with say i5 processor and maybe 4 GB RAM, and you want to process a video file, and it tells you that it takes say 4 hours to process or export the video file from Camtasia video editor. What do? You waste 4 hours. For instance, if it is a cloud-based resource, for instead of your dedicated i5 4 GB computer, you can request for a high power computer which will process the video in 5 minutes. So you save time with this elasticity feature of cloud. Elastic feature of cloud. And then measured service. You can actually measure using cloud-based tools your exact usage. So how much space you use in case of say Dropbox, how much traffic you use, how much computing power you use, all these can be measured. Any questions so far? Am I clear? Great. Megha, do you have any question? Megha, Sherry, and Suman, please shoot your questions. Yes, Vikas wants a clarification on resource pooling and broad network access. Yes, Vikas, when we come to the practical side, this thing will become clearer. But for now, for instance, if you have a dedicated say disk space, for instance, a backup disk space, say 200 GB, you have purchased from the cloud provider, you can attach this drive to different computing resource to take backup. So you are not locked your hard disk to one computer. This is just one crude example of what is resource pooling. And broad network access, as I have explained, is you can access your cloud resources from your mobile phone, your tablet, your iPads, your desktop, your laptop, etc. Suman, Suman says Suman is not able to communicate anything with me. Suman, please shoot your question. Feel free to type your question. If you raise your hand, See, now Megha's hand is raised, Sandeep's hand is raised, Sherry's hand is raised, Suman's hand is raised. Please type in your question. Yes, I will read the question that I am answering. So Sandeep's question is, in case of global exam, what is the format of the exam? Is it practical type or theory? It is theory, multiple choice theory question. Okay. So if I have answered your question, can you drop your hands down so I can proceed? Yes, Megha, we have you have Outlook installed on machine. Yes, Outlook is installed because people used to certain desktop-based application, but even that also will die down. Suman, you have any questions? If no, can you lower your hand? And Megha? And I can assure you that as we progress with the practicals, things will become clearer and more interesting. Okay. And these slides are with you, and if you have doubts after 3-4 sessions or 4-5 sessions, you can always ask doubts on these slides in the coming session. So don't worry. Suman, your hand is still raised. Any questions? Suman, can you type in your question? So all the participants' microphone will be muted. That gives the best clarity of the audio so that when you listen to the video later, things will become clear. And I will ensure that I will read your questions. Okay, thank you. So next slide. There are different categories of cloud implementation models. Yes, Badrinath, do you have any question? Okay, so if you have a question, please raise your hand and type in your question so that we can save time in me asking you to type. So one is a public cloud. That is what we will be using mostly. So just focus on this public part, like Amazon Web Services 2 is mainly a public cloud service. Just the opposite is private cloud. A large company with different offices in different parts of the world can use internet to have their own private cloud, and all their sales team or employees can use their own in-house email servers, in-house management information tools, etc., using their private cloud. So this is called internally hosted cloud. And with the popularity of Amazon services, even this private cloud is actually hosted on Amazon type of public cloud providers. Next is community cloud solutions shared by several organizations, hosted but maybe internally hosted. See, for instance, Wikipedia, or there are many community services which are supported by many companies. And hybrid cloud. Amazon also offers hybrid cloud, where you have your critical data hosted on your own computer, for instance, the banking system, and you also have interconnection with other cloud providers. So partly the system is owned by you and partly owned by the public cloud. Yeah, so examples of hybrid cloud, Anand, is say banking. See, like a banking system, certain data you need to have it in-house for compliance requirement. You may not be allowed to put the data in some other country or some other location. So you have your own dedicated system. And airlines, central reservation system, their PNR creation or ticket ID generation, etc. They may want to keep it within the airlines headquarters, and they connect those services securely to the public cloud. So it is a mix of both. And community, you may not get clear examples like, you know, certain compliance, like certain legal documentation, or certain rights of, say, environment requirements, or, you know, greenhouse effect, global warming. These are all interesting to many countries, isn't it? So these countries and these organizations, these social service organizations, come together and provide or look after these services. But our focus and our requirements and your expertise should be focused on this area. This is where you have access and you have employment opportunity. Yeah, community and hybrid look the same. No, hybrid will mean that you have, like, you know, hybrid car. What exactly do you mean? It will operate using say two different fuels, maybe battery and gasoline, or, you know, gas and petrol. So hybrid essentially will mean you have physical hardware, like, say, see, before cloud, how do you used to have your hardware? You used to have your own computer servers on your offices, which you may not have. As young engineers, you may not have experience. So, but you used to have your own data centers in-house, like Santa Cruz Air India Reservation Center used to have a mainframe, which I used to maintain, which is a huge data center with in-house computers, and around the world, through special network service provided by certain companies, we access these resources. But when cloud came in, internet became popular, and cloud and internet gave a possibility of sharing computer resources and also sharing your dedicated computer resources. Okay, so these things may not be very clear to you now, but don't worry much. Let's proceed to the next slide. This is important. Now, cloud service models. So this is implementation model, which you may not see it, but this should be very clear, and the full form also should be very clear to you. One is IaaS, that is infrastructure as service. Can anyone guess what this is? This is buying a computer through the cloud. See, I want say 8 GB and say 4-core computer. Yes, Kamlesh. Hardware, Sai, yes. So this is getting your raw computer from the cloud provider. And what is the disadvantage of IaaS? Anyone can guess? Yes, Deepak. It will provide infrastructure, buying some servers. Client will be asking for servers. Correct, Deepak. What is the disadvantage? Badrinath, is it support all OS? I am coming to that, Badrinath. What is the disadvantage of this, or what is the advantage of IaaS, infrastructure as service? The advantage is you can install whatever operating system that you want. Deepak, client will not be knowing the server, will depend only on Amazon, cost high. Yes. See, the disadvantage is you have to install your operating system and you have to ensure that it is patched and you have to ensure that it is updated regularly, and you have to ensure that the versions and the installed software are correctly maintained. So there is advantage where you can customize the environment the way you want. The disadvantage is you have to maintain the operating system on it. Clear? Infrastructure of service. That is all you need to know at this time. You will buy the hardware and you will install the operating system. Next is platform as service. Platform as a service is, supposing you want to implement your Java application. You are not really bothered about the operating system or the hardware. You want a powerful Java virtual environment. Yeah, Badri, is it a question? Badrina is asking, AXOS can install. Is it a question? Yeah, so see, currently most of these computers will only be installing Linux or Windows, different Linux flavors or Windows. Okay, so platform of services, you will get the environment where you can upload your Java application directly. You say you want Java this version, specific version, or you want to upload your PHP application. Platform of a service will provide a container like environment where you can upload your application and execute it. Yes, Shivaramakrishnan, in IaaS we are buying the hardware or only specification like RAM and OS. That will become clear when we actually use it. We will be using IaaS for our practicals. So we will be choosing the amount of RAM. In fact, you will be typing in a text box how much RAM you want, 8 GB or 16 GB, and you will be choosing the type of CPU that you want. Clear? Yeah, Suman, actually this is better because I can read the question and I can pick the question. Otherwise it will be disturbing for the participants to see the entire chat window. I want the participants to focus on the slide. So the focus will be on the trainer and the slide. Okay, so let's proceed. So IaaS is clear. Platform as a service will become very clear as we progress. IaaS also is going to be very clear. And SAS is something which you are already using. Yes, Sai Krishna is asking, PAS include IaaS? Yes, Sai, in a way it includes IaaS, but you cannot change the operating system. And you cannot even check the version of the operating system in PAS. In PAS, supposing you are buying a Java, you can check the Java version and you can upload your Java application var or jar file. You may not even know what operating system it's running on. Okay. In SaaS, can anyone give an example for this? SaaS. SFDC, Shivaram Krishna, what is SFDC? Yeah, what is the full form of SFDC? Sai, your hand is raised. Web service. Yes, it can. It is it can be a web service, but your Gmail is a software as a service. Your Dropbox is a software as a service. Google Drive is a software as a service. Your Google Docs is a software as a service. So unknowingly, we are using number of tools already which are software as a service. Clear? Even YouTube is a software as a service. And even your apps, mobile apps are software as a service. Like WhatsApp is a software as a service. So this is something you are already familiar. So this is something which, when you join a company, you will be supporting this for the company using PAS or IAS. Now, can you tell me which is the most flexible in this? Which is the most flexible in this? That is an interview question. Sai is saying yes, SAS, and Rengarajan is saying all three, and Kamlesh is saying SAAS. Which is most flexible? And Sandeep is saying IAAS. Actually, IAAS is the most flexible thing. So this is very important for the interview, because IAS, you can install the operating system that you want, you can install the software platform you want, and you can install the software you want on it. Whereas if you choose PAS provider, you will be restricted to the environment that you can't change the environment, but you can upload the software that you want. But SAS, you cannot even change the software. You have to use the software. Now, another important question which can also come in an interview, which is normally, so during this training I will also focus on interview related question, because I also conduct interviews. Which is the most expensive one in this? Yes, Sandeep, I will come to that. Sai, your hand is raised. So which is the most expensive one? Deepak is saying IAS, Megha is saying IAS. Actually, no, this is the most expensive one, because here sorry, here you have to pay for the software as well. Yes, obvious, correct. So here you have to pay for the software, you have to pay for the platform, you have to pay for the infrastructure. Here you have to pay for the infrastructure and the platform. Here you only have to pay for the infrastructure. So technically this is cost effective, but many companies cannot afford this, because why? Any guess why? Many companies cannot afford to get into this. Any guess? Because they need engineers who can understand, who can configure, who can implement, who can support. Yes, they need to build. Yes, Megha. So it is difficult to find qualified, experienced cloud professional. That is why I know that you guys are doing this course. This is the niche area where huge potential is there. Next 10 to 15 years, this job market will grow. And you all will be working in this area mostly. Yes, Megha. Sai Krishna is asking which one you are referring to. I am referring to infrastructure as a service is the cheapest in terms of cloud providers cost, but it needs technical support by way of having professionally qualified engineers in-house. Okay, so with this in mind, these three things you must remember. It should be very clear to you. If you have any questions on IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, any question? Okay, if not, next slide. Okay, so now 3 examples. Before the cloud era, or before the popularity of cloud, a software that you develop will have a packaged application. It will have data, runtime environment, middleware, operating system, and virtualization, which we will study, and servers, storage, and networking. All these put together is a software, isn't it? And when cloud started becoming popular through internet, these things started to get split up. Certain area of your entire application ecosystem was split up and loaded onto the cloud, and you started managing certain area. So this is an example of infrastructure as cloud, where you buy the server, and when I say server, it is actually a virtualized server, which we will study in the next session. So you get a hardware here. You can move my mouse pointer moving, and you install the operating system on it, and you install the middleware, your Java runtime environment or Apache web server with PHP or etc. So that your application runs, your data and database servers, and your application. This much you manage in infrastructure as code. Actually, this much you manage. Then comes the platform as service, where you manage only the application and the data. This much is provided by the cloud provider. This is there is another name for it. It is also called container. So platform infrastructure as a service, another name is virtual machine, and platform as a service, another name is container. Okay, and then software as a service, where the entire thing is managed by the cloud. You sign up for a Dropbox account, and Dropbox will give you the server. See, middleware is the libraries that you install. Like for instance, Java runtime will need a Tomcat server, which is the web server, which will provide the Java running environment. Or a PHP application, web application, will need an Apache or an Nginx web server, and also a PHP runtime engine. So they both put together can be called a middleware. But this is a vague term. As we progress, this will become clearer. Okay, Vikas? Any other question? So is it very clear? IaaS, PaaS, and software as Sai Krishna, your hand is raised. So when you raise your hand, you also type in your question. Sai Krishna, there is no much scope in SaaS. That is not true. Actually, SaaS is where you will be working. Supposing you are working with Dropbox, you will be providing this service, but you are not a developer, so you will not be developing the software interface and working of software. You are essentially an infrastructural engineer. You are training yourselves to be an infrastructural engineer, whereas software as a service Key focus is software developers who will build applications like Gmail, which will involve full stack experience and software coding experience. So you have to be very clear on your focus. Your focus is on how to use the cloud provider and create the infrastructure for these software developers. Clear, Sai? Okay, great. Since I am a full stack developer, you feel free to ask, but I will focus your questions and my answers so that you are evolved into infrastructure developers. So cloud service model, this again is a repetition of what I've explained so far. IaaS, no need to invest in your own hardware. Infrastructure scales on demand and support dynamic workloads. Flexible, innovative services available on demand. We will see what they are as we progress. For now, use this as your slide so that during interview you can just go through it. But if you want to ask, please feel free to ask. But at this stage, even if I explain, things may not be very clear to you, so just bear with me. Platform as a service, develop applications and get to the market faster, so you don't have to worry, spend your time on installing operating system and creating the environment. You have a Java application, immediately you can put it live, make it live. Deploy new web applications in minutes, reduce complexity with middleware and service, because the cloud service provider is more experienced in securing the operating system from viruses to hackers, etc. So operating systems will be much more, or your environment will be much more protected when you choose PaaS. Software as a service, you can sign up and rapidly start using the innovative business apps like Dropbox, etc. Apps and data are accessible from any connected computer. No data is lost if your computer breaks, as data is in the cloud, and service is able to dynamically scale to usage needs. Sorry. Next is vertical and horizontal scaling. This is an important interview question. Anybody wants to guess what this is? Anyone? See, vertical scaling is increasing your computer's resources, like increasing your disk space. Deepak is saying there will be no hardware. Not exactly, Deepak. I'm explaining. See, vertical scaling means increasing your computing power by increasing your disk space, CPU power or memory. Savan Kumar, over the cloud. Actually, both these are over the cloud. Horizontal scaling means increasing the number of computers. To give an example, see election counting. Election counting is one big powerful computer better, or thousands of small computers is better? Can anyone guess? Santosh, shoot your question. election counting, thousands of small computers located across the districts or different units counting the local votes and then sending it to central computer. Sai Krishna is saying depends on need. Yes. So there can be situations where small computing distributed around the globe is better than a central computers. So a central computer. For instance, airline reservation, where you need to generate a unique PNR, which is a unique ID for each booking. You cannot have thousands of computers generating this unique ID. You need to have one powerful computer to generate the unique ID. But searching for flights and seeing the facilities, you can have distributed computers across the world. So the vertical scaling and horizontal scaling, depending on the need, it changes. So any question at this stage? So I have one picture to highlight. So Sandeep, depending on workload, we can increase, decrease servers and computers. Yes, Sandeep, but you need to know whether you should scale vertically or horizontally. And vertical scaling for single computer only? Yes and no. But supposing you have 5 database servers, all the 5 database servers can be vertically scaled, but you have say 1,000 front-end servers. All the front-end servers can also be vertically scaled. So they can be mixed as well. Okay, Anand? Now this picture will highlight what is the difference between a double-decker. Have you seen double-decker buses? Have you seen? Yes. Sorry. So what is, supposing you have fixed traffic. Yes, Mumbai, in many places we have. What is the advantage? You in the same trip, same time, you can take more number of passengers, one big server. So say double-decker bus is an example of vertical scaling. But supposing you have every day at 9 o'clock one double-decker bus going from one place to another, will it make everyone happy? You may need to travel at 10 o'clock. You may need to travel at 12 o'clock. So you need normal buses flying at regular times, but certain peak time you may need a double-decker bus. So vertical scaling is important and horizontal scaling is also important. Yes, it can pick many people in rush hour side. So you keep this in mind when somebody is asking what is vertical scaling and what is horizontal scaling. Keep this in mind. So my goal of this course is to ensure that key points are really understood really well. So I hope now you will not forget what is vertical scaling, what is horizontal scaling, and when you should apply. Sandosh, your hand is raised. You have any question? Okay. So you are clever enough to know the difference between double-decker bus and a normal bus. Same way, you have to know the difference between when you will use thousands of small computers and when you will use one single powerful computer. Yes, Deepak. Supposing Deepak wants me to repeat. So this video is available, so I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but I will again summarize. Supposing you have to process a video file, which is say 1 terabyte. Will 100 small computers help in speeding up the process? No, you need one powerful computer to process the single video file, because that processing could take several hours. So in order to reduce the time, you need a vertical scaling. Okay, but you have Amazon like shopping cart, where you have hundreds of thousands of products with images and videos, etc., which you want around the world to access. So you need regionally located data centers, like in Mumbai you need a data center, you need in Singapore, you need in Europe, you need in so you need several thousands of computers providing the Amazon products or eBay products, so that you can search easily. Like Gmail, they have distributed data access so that your query is handled well. So vertical scaling and horizontal scaling will have similar requirement, like how a double-decker bus and a normal bus both are required. Because normal bus can be made accessible throughout the day, and certain peak time you can offer double-decker bus. So at this stage, this much of understanding is good enough. Yes, thanks, Deepak. Okay, so before we get into this slide, we will take a 15 minutes break. So if you have any questions, you can come back after the break. So thank you for your wonderful questions and participation. We'll meet back at 9:12. Okay, then we will have the session till 10:30. Thank you. Bye bye. I'll mute myself. Thanks, Sai. Okay, welcome back. Shivang, are you able to hear me now? Okay, shall we proceed? Can I get some confirmation? Yes, great. Okay, thank you. So, any questions so far? I know that this theory can be little dry, but all you need to remember is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, and vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Okay, now cloud computing has advantage. One is cost. That is, you don't need to dedicate. If you buy a dedicated computer, you will have to invest uh, for the computer purchase and the infrastructure or computer room, etc., etc., and then throughout the next say throughout the season, throughout the year, you will have to pay that much. But supposing you have holiday sales like Deepavali sales or Onam sales or Christmas sales, during those time you need much more computing power. You only need to invest if it is a cloud based service. You only need to invest extra computing during those times. So you can really save cost if you carefully plan your cloud computing resource. But if you are not careful, you will also waste money. That is where your involvement as a cloud engineer will come into play. Next is speed. This again will become clear as we progress. Like depending on the load, say for instance, during the office hours, demand on your software is very high. You can provide high speed computing resource, many number of computers vertically or horizontally scaled. And during night hours or non-office hours, you can reduce the cost. Another is global scale. Across the globe, you can provide uniform quality of your service if it is cloud based. Otherwise, if it is Indian hosted, say for instance, a web server, if you go outside India, it can slow down due to internet latency. Another is productivity. Cloud computing also enhances productivity because you get you don't need to spend months in readying your data center and readying your hardware, etc. You have readily accessible environment, so your productivity is enhanced. Performance, with this again is speed. Cloud computing offers unmatched performance and reliability. Cloud data centers are much more secure than our in-house computers by way of secured entry, secured access, power failure, backup generator, backup data centers, and things like that, which we will study when we start your Amazon part of the training. So, cloud-based computing in general is much more reliable. Now let's quickly go through the issues and concerns before we leave this slide. Firstly is security and privacy concerns. Security and privacy concern is one is you are not used to giving your critical data to some other cloud provider, isn't it? So there is naturally a resistance, and people will worry that general worry is, will my data be safe when I load it to a cloud provider? Next is exposing my statistics. That is when we host our data online, for instance, say uh, uh, our say payment wallet like Paytm. If it is hosted on the cloud, you will know the number of users Paytm has. You will know the usage pattern, usage statistics. So your critical, sensitive data, sensitive usage statistics will get exposed as well. So there is a worry. And then disaster management. What happens if the cloud provider goes down? How you have complete loss of access to your data. So all these are worries which we will see as we progress. Next is cost control concern. How will you control the cost? Like for instance, holiday season, you need 1,000 computers, but normal time you may need only 5 computers. So how do you monitor and ensure that it is cost-wise optimal? So this is a tricky area which will also need your experience and expertise. Next is service level agreement. This is again little confusing. For instance, you have a computer virtual machine provided by Amazon, and they say it is 99.99% uptime guaranteed. That is their SLA. And you also have their network interface. Yeah, Mohit Malhotra is asking, how can we secure our DB in the cloud? Yes, we will see that, Mohit. And service, what is your question? Mohit, clear? We will when we see the security aspect of AWS, we will see how we secure. Sandeep, cost control concern could be schedule any shutdown uptime. Absolutely yes, Sandeep. You can shut down, you can schedule your shutdown. All these things are possible. Sai, it's pay for use only, no chance of wastage, right? No, Sai, that is correct. But if it is badly configured, you will waste. For instance, supposing you only need 10 GB, but if you allocate 100 GB, you will be paying the extra 90 GB unnecessarily. So even though it is paid for use, you will be blocking a certain level of hardware. Like for instance, you are buying a virtual machine of 8 GB, and actually you need only 2 GB for your thing. You will be paying for the 8 GB thing. So it is not in that sense pay for use. Yes, for IaaS, you will be paying for the hardware that you are configuring for you when you provision your infrastructure. Okay, any other question? Any other question I have not addressed? Sarvesh, your hand is raised. Sandeep, your hand is also raised. Sandeep, in case of cost, how billing cycle work? Monthly, quarterly, yearly? Yes, it is monthly. We will see that as well. But there are yearly options as well. So the costing part can vary from provider. Since our focus is on Amazon, we will see how Amazon bills and how we can save. Yes, Sandeep, we will proceed. So this service level agreement is confusing in the sense, and if computer, just listen carefully, computer virtual machine is 99.99% uptime. Okay, and the database is also 99.99% uptime, and the network is also 99.99%. But all these put together, uptime can be 99.99 into 99.99 into 99. So it can be lower than 99.99. So that you have to understand. So the multiplication effect can impart the downtime. So Kalaivani, that is what it is. Service level agreement is each resource of the cloud provider has got an uptime assurance. We will study this as we progress, but for now what you must understand is your application, say for instance Paytm, the web servers have to be up, the database will also have to be up, and the network will also have to be up. So there are various components which constitute an application to be called functional, and each of these, if it is 99.99% up, 99.99 means out of 365 days it can be down by 0.01 days, isn't it? So it can be down by 3 days, 3.6 days, 99.99. But if it is multiplication effect, it will be 99.99 into 99.99 into all those things, components multiplied can be lower. So it can be down for many more days. So when we plan our disaster management, when we implement this network, I will touch upon as we progress. You have to ensure that your entire application's reliability is not impacted. Is it slightly clearer? Yes, great. So just what I want to say is, just because your computer is 99.99 uptime assured by the cloud provider, don't think that your entire application will be up 99.99, because you may be using their database, you may be using the network, you may be using the disk space and various components. So that you need to consider. Next is interoperability issue. Like you may be having a cloud provider in the US, but the network connectivity may be relying on Singapore internet provider or Indian internet provider. So your compatibility between your cloud provider or another web service which you are using from another third party, their compatibility issue also you should be aware. But this may not be clear, but it is application to application. Next is what to migrate. This is another major concern. Like you have joined a company with no Amazon or Microsoft cloud infrastructure usage. Now they will ask you to migrate. You have to decide what to migrate and when to migrate. Maybe initially you migrate their web servers, then maybe last thing you want to migrate is their accounting or backend processing. So you have to decide what to migrate. These are some of the concerns. Next is legal compliance. Like key legal questions you should ask your cloud providers are, where is your data located, or where is the computer located, which country it is located. Next is, do they have an outsourced thing like there are service providers, for instance Dropbox, which is software as a service, but you may want to know where they're storing their data, or is it outsourced to which provider. These are some of the questions you may have to answer your organization. Next is jurisdiction of the contract, like things Supposing you have a legal issue, you may have to answer or you may have to address it depending on the jurisdiction of the cloud provider. If it is a US based provider and they say all legal matters should be routed through US justice system, you need to be aware of it. And what happens to the data after you terminate your cloud service? Will they destroy it or will they keep it? This also you should be aware of based on your cloud provider. These are some of the high level thing. Need not worry much about it at this stage. Our current phase is to really know Amazon cloud services well. Next is lack of resources and expertise. This is what I was saying. There is a huge demand of cloud trained expertise because companies are migrating to the cloud and they are always on the lookout of trained and experienced cloud engineers. So one concern is difficult to find cloud trained experts. So that is our first section, introduction to cloud computing. Now let's look at virtualization. So if you have any questions on cloud computing, you can ask now or you can ask anytime later. So okay, Sarvesh has a question. How migration happened? Is there any template? So Sarvesh, that is a general question. You will need to address that question case by case. Supposing you have a banking application, how will you migrate? There are various components. You need to sit with the developers and the project managers and see what to migrate. Maybe the front end application you will migrate first. Shivang is asking what is the meaning of migration. Meaning of migration is moving your current application from dedicated computers to a cloud-based provider. And Sarvesh is asking, is there any template? Definitely no template. Sai Krishna, it can be an application migration. Yes, absolutely. It can be application migration, it can be data migration, it can be both. Okay, so all questions answered? Shivang, your hand is raised. Santosh, your hand is also raised. Okay, so proceeding to virtualization. Now, virtualization is how we can load one operating system on top of another operating system in a nutshell. For instance, you have a Windows desktop. Now, you want Windows laptop and you want to experiment with Linux. What can you do? You don't want to erase your or overwrite your operating system with Linux. Then you lose all your data and all your experience, isn't it? So whenever you want to use Linux, you need Linux as an application installed on top of your Windows desktop. That is called virtualization in a nutshell. So this is me again. I'm Sri Prakash Nelakandan, and this is the TACT contact support. And virtualization is a creation of a virtual rather than actual version of something, such as an operating system, a server, storage device, or a network resource. So when we talk of cloud, everything is software. Anything that you buy from a cloud provider is actually a software. If you buy a disk space from a cloud provider, it is actually a software behaving like a disk drive. If you buy a computer from a cloud provider, it is actually software behaving like a computer. Clear? A software that behaves like a computer is, in a nutshell, called a virtual machine or virtualization. So this is traditional and virtual architecture. Traditionally, you have a computer which can be a desktop or a laptop. Then you have one operating system which can be Windows, Linux, or Mac. Then you have your application which can be Word document or Excel spreadsheet. If it is a virtualization, you have the hardware which is similar to normal hardware. You have a virtualization layer installed on your hardware. Then you have operating system. This can be Windows, this can be Windows, this can be Windows, this can be Windows, Linux, Mac. Cannot be Mac. It can be mix of Windows or Linux operating systems. Why it cannot be Mac operating system? Mac needs a dedicated hardware normally. Then you install your application on top of it. See, one hardware you can have 3 or more operating system, whereas in this one hardware you get one operating system. Which is more advantageous? Can anyone answer? Virtual, yes. But what is the disadvantage of virtualization? Can anyone guess? Sai, correct. Virtual. What is the disadvantage of virtualization? Any disadvantage? Shivang, latency, you mean reduction in speed? Yes, absolutely. Yes, Deepak, if server goes down, everything goes down. And it can be slower. And Sandeep, yes, hardware should be hypervisor supported. Deepak, multiple application down. Yes, multiple application will go down. And obvious cost management and connectivity. Yes. Okay, so in a nutshell, this picture is clear. So this is virtualization. Now we will see how this part is done. We use a thing called hypervisor. Hypervisor is a software layer that emulates the hardware. So here on the motherboard and BIOS of this hardware, you install the operating system. So this operating system uses the kernel provided by the BIOS calls provided by the operating system to access the disk drive and memory, etc., network, etc., and installs. Whereas virtualization gives or behaves like separate motherboards. For each of the operating system, virtualization behaves like one motherboard, motherboard, another motherboard here, another motherboard here. This is better. So it is a software-based BIOS or motherboard, and that is called hypervisor. It's a software layer that emulates the hardware. This often includes CPUs, memory, I/O, and network traffic. Yes, Santosh, you have a question? Shivang, your hand is raised. Can we run a virtualization on this setup? You mean during this course? Santosh, what is your question? Can we run a virtualization on this setup? Yes, you can. If you want to install virtualization on your laptop, you can download VirtualBox software and install. But other than that, This virtualization session is just to understand how Amazon is configuring its servers. So our role is to use Amazon's virtual services. Santosh and Sarvesh, your hands are raised. Santosh, no, on the virtualized hardware, do you mean can we install on the virtualized hardware another virtualization software? Is that your question? That is possible, but normally not done. Hypervisor is, Shivang, hypervisor is like VirtualBox of Oracle? Yes. Yes. Okay, Obvious, your hand is raised. Can we virtualize the hardware itself, Obvious? Yes, actually, virtualize the hypervisor is virtualizing the hardware. Hypervisor gives you a software which behaves like the BIOS of the operating system, a motherboard, in a nutshell. Okay. So if you are from the microprocessor background, microprocessor execute instructions, then you have your BIOS which runs and gives you an interface for the operating system, but this gives you multiple such simulated hardware. So Shivang, what is the difference between them? What is the difference between what? You mean hypervisor and VirtualBox? Is that your question? Yeah. So there, see, VirtualBox also uses hypervisor-like environment. So hypervisor is the basis other virtualization software relies on. Okay, so we will have a little more clarity in the subsequent slides. Operating system normally interacts with true hardware, is now doing so with Savan Kumar. Hypervisor is of Microsoft and VirtualBox is of Oracle. No, actually we are not talking about that hypervisor. We are talking about the technology called hypervisor. This is not from any specific provider. Okay. Okay, so with the software emulation, so that hardware often operates. Okay, that slide is over. Let's proceed. This is the history of virtualization. This you can take your time and read. It started way back in 1965. When the mainframe started itself, IBM 360 time it started. So it is not something really new. Only thing is, when after internet and after Amazon cloud services, it's really started becoming popular and accessible to ordinary people like us. Shivang, so one type we can have run one or more different OS. Yes, one hardware we can run one or more operating systems. Okay, so currently we have VMware, Microsoft, Citrix, Red Hat, etc. are major cloud providers. Now, what is hypervisor again? A layer of software that enables the masking of resources, often referred to as the hypervisor. It emulates the hardware, often including the CPU's memory and I/O and the network traffic. And now, types of virtualization and the terminologies. One is full virtualization. Megha is asking, is in virtual machine, is the hardware shared among different machine installed? Yes, all the operating system will share the same hardware on which you have installed the virtualizing software. So here we have, first is full virtualization. Hypervisor is the most common. Hypervisor is used to interact directly with the physical server CPU and the displays. Each guest server runs on its own operating system. You can even have one guest running on Linux and other on Windows. para virtualization, relatively new. Amazon has this. Unlike full virtualization technique, guest, yes, surveys which hypervisor is used by Amazon. Yes, well, that will become clear surveys when we enter Amazon. Okay, so Amazon offers para virtualization system, and in para virtualization system, guest servers are aware of one another. Para virtualization hypervisor doesn't need as much processing power to manage guest operating systems, because each operating system already is aware of and the demands of other operating system. OS level virtualization, limited use, no hypervisor is in use. Instead, virtualization capability is part of the host operating system, which performs all the functions of a fully virtualized hypervisor. The biggest limitation of this approach is all the guest servers must run the same operating system. This is not common and this is not used. We don't have to worry about it. So our focus is on the types of virtualization what Amazon uses. When we provision virtual machines on next session, we will see the option that we have. So this is, keep it as a theory. Next is, in practice, VirtualBox is what you can use, which is very nice, which you can install on Mac, Windows, and Linux. It uses a thing called Type 2 hypervisor. That is to say that it is virtualization host software that runs as an application on an established operating system. Alternatively, Type 1 hypervisor is host software that runs on what is known as bare metal, term that means on computer without an operating system. So this may not be clear. Let me try to clarify this. See here, this is your hardware. When I say hardware, it is displays, motherboard, and BIOS. And you install an operating system on top of it. Then you install your applications. Now, in a virtualization layer, this is your hardware. Then you install a hypervisor layer on top. This you have not had access to it, but Amazon uses it to provide virtual services. And on top of that, you install operating system, but you cannot do this. So if you have a laptop, you cannot do this. What you can do is you get a laptop with an operating system installed. SAS Studio. Santosh, I have not used SAS Studio. Santosh is asking, SAS Studio works as hypervisor type 1 software. Yes, I am explaining hypervisor type 1. Hypervisor type 1 is, you have you have a desktop, you have your Windows, you have your application. Now, type 2 hypervisor is an application installed here. And the application's name is, for example, VirtualBox. And that behaves like a hypervisor. That is what I'm trying to explain. VirtualBox is a type 2 hypervisor. So anytime you install a hypervisor like software here, that is a type 2 hypervisor. So what Santosh is saying is SAS Studio works like hypervisor type 1 software, which I have not used. It could be true. I will check on it, Santosh. So type 2 hypervisor is what we can access. You can download and install. It is free, and you can install Ubuntu, etc. on your laptop. Yes, type 2 hypervisor is installed on top of an already existing operating system. Sarvesh, your hand is raised. Okay, now proceeding to benefits of virtualization. It reduce spending, correct? So you don't need to invest much in your by means of investing in different hardware. Anand, example of type 2 hypervisor is Hyper-V from Microsoft, yes, and VirtualBox and VMware. These are all things. So reduce spending is clear. Easier to backup and disaster recovery. Can anyone explain why is it easier to backup and recovery? This is very, very important. Anyone? Exactly. Sandeep says we can take a snapshot. Exactly. This is one single most important of a virtual box and recover from it. Yes, Sandeep. So what is a snapshot? See, now you have your Windows desktop. You now installation is taking say 1 hour. After that, you install your software on it, and that could take several days. Like you after many days, you install some other software and you create an environment. And if you lose your if your machine crashes, how long will it take for you to restore? You know, you need to again install fresh operating system and all the software environment, etc. created, whereas virtual machine actually is a file on your computer. So you can back up a virtual machine just like backing up a file. It can be a file or a folder. So a virtual machine backup and in fact backup and replication is also there. Replication and backup and disaster recovery. This is very easy when it comes to a virtual machine. Okay, because it is just a folder or a file on your Windows or Linux or Mac desktop. This is clear. So this we will come across when we proceed with Amazon Web Service. Next is easy to provision. This term provision is something that you need to, Vikas is asking when will you provide Z? Yes, immediately after the presentation, I will be sending it to tax support and they will upload it to your learning management system. I hope all of you have access to your learning management system. No, Sai, so you need to send an email to tax support so that you can log into your learning management system. Yes, so maybe they're working on it. And Rengarajan, your hand is raised. Any question? Rengarajan, you have any question? Can you please explain again about para type 1 and type 2 virtualization? Yes, Rengarajan, you for now try to understand only type 2 virtualization. Type 2 virtualization is installing a hypervisor like software on your Windows. Got it? So see, let me try to show it. I have, mine is a Mac. See, I have a software here. This is a software like my PowerPoint, but actually this is a type 2 hypervisor virtualization software where I can have CentOS, Ubuntu, all types of servers I can run. So this is what you will be using, because you don't want to erase your Windows and install a type 1 hypervisor. Okay, now to answer that, type 2 hypervisor will sit here, whereas type 1 hypervisor will sit here. Which is useful for Amazon? You tell me, Rangarajan. See, Amazon knows that all their services are cloud-based. Amazon knows that nobody is going to directly use their computer. So Amazon will virtualize at the hardware level itself by offering type 1 hypervisor. And then you get better shareability of your hardware. Instead of wasting one operating system and then installing one type 2 hypervisor and installing operating system inside that. So this much is wasted. This much is wasted. Is it clear, Rangarajan? Is it clearer now? Sarvesh, your hand is raised. Any question? This much should be clear to you and sufficient enough for you to start the AWS journey. Any questions? Sarvesh, your hand is still raised. Rangarajan, clear? Then can you lower your hand? Sarvesh, shoot your question. Next is easy to provision. This is a term that you will come across. You know, supposing your company wants to implement a new server. What will you do? The purchase department, you will tell your purchase department that you need this specific Dell server or this server you need. They will ask for quotation from different vendors. Correct? Sarvesh has a question, how migration happens? So there is any OS to OS migration AWS? Yes, Sarvesh, these are interesting questions, but this question is little too early now. All those tools we will come across. Okay, so my role is to ensure that you are fairly comfortable with Amazon services. Coming back to provision, so traditionally what happens, you need to make a purchase request and then they will bring the computer, then they will ensure that you have a air-conditioned room, then battery backup, UPS, generator, and you know the operators. It can take months before you can get a computer installed and be available to your company. Whereas in software, it can be done in minutes. You just type in a command, start Ubuntu server, Ubuntu 100. Just type one command, it can create 100 Ubuntu servers in a minute. Do you believe this? This is the advantage of having a cloud-based service provider. This is not a command, actual command, but you can create similar commands. So essentially, cloud provider allows us to provision any resource by typing in few commands or clicking few buttons. So it is very easy to provision. But also remember, if you wrongly choose the wrong type of computer, it can be really, really costly as well. So you have to be a conversant with their pricing model. Another is easy to replicate. Like here we saw how easily we can take snapshots and backup and restore. You can also clone. So here it is, snapshots, and here it is cloning. You can clone your entire computer into another computer. Sai is asking, how about the reverting back process? If you incorrectly created 10 servers, you can say destroy 10 servers. But those are not the actual commands. We will see. So creating easy to provision and easy to destroy. Okay, easy to provision and easy to destroy. Both are quick. So supposing during office hours you need 20 servers, and after office hours you need only 2 servers, you can schedule your provisioning code which you will be developing, and you can use it. Service, your hand is still raised. Any questions? Now coming to the last slide, which is the common vendors. One is VMware. If you are targeting enterprise environment, then VMware is very common. It is the market leader in virtualization. Okay, VirtualBox from Oracle. If you want virtualization in desktop, then VirtualBox is very simple to install and configure. So I request all of you to install VirtualBox, but it's not a part of the course, but for the sake of understanding what it is. Mohit, do you have any question? Yes, Mohit. You want to ask your question? Okay, no. Okay, so then there are other vendors like Microsoft, Google, and so on. The list is huge. We will be focusing on Amazon, AWS solutions for this course. So we will see what Amazon uses, and then next is Amazon Web Services. So let me give you an introduction. Now, what I can tell you is, next 10 years, Amazon, there is no other company that can come anywhere near Amazon. Now, in the graphs, you may find that Microsoft is catching up really, and Google Compute Cloud also is catching up, but actually Amazon is way above the rest, way ahead. The number of services Amazon offers and the flexibilities and the customer base are too large for any other company to replicate or come anywhere close. So if you just focus on Amazon, your life is made. Sandeep, as virtual OS installed on VirtualBox are also lighter than OS installed on VMware. The question is not clear, Sandeep. You will install similar software on VirtualBox and similar software on VMware. Same operating system you will install on both. And you have a thing called Vagrant, which is a wrapper around these virtual boxes. Clear, Sandeep? Okay. Any other questions so far? If not, let me just prepare the Amazon login screen so that I can just show you how the services look like. Just one second. And from tomorrow, it will be practicals. Please bear with me for a minute. I will address your questions soon. Just a minute. I have a special authentication before I can sign in. So it is called MFA protection, multi-factor authentication protection. That is what I'm doing. Which I will explain when we reach that section. Where this is something like an OTP login for banking access. Okay, so this is the screen. This is the startup screen, and before I come to that, let me see if I have any other questions. Sherry, you have any question? Your hand is raised. I am in Richmond, VA. Do we start tomorrow at 8 EST, 10:30 EST? Actually, what is the time there now, Sherry? So Vikas also 12:37. Actually, Indian 8 a.m. Indian 8 a.m. we start the course. It's 8 a.m. to 10:30. So accordingly, please check up your time. So we will exactly start at 8. Tomorrow, even if one participant comes at 8, I will start. So please come, ensure that you are ready 5 minutes before, and be ready with your questions. And also, when you raise your hand, just shoot your question. And Vikas, you have any question? Sherry, you have any other question? Yes, Megha is asking, is this course mainly concentrating on AWS architect? Absolutely. This course is about Amazon Cloud Service, or it is called AWS, Amazon Web Services. Sherry, we are on same time frame. Yes, every day Indian time, 8 to 10:30 a.m. the course starts. Course starts at 8 a.m. Indian time, so you need to adjust. What is the exam pattern? I think you need to send an email to tax support on exam pattern. So Collabra says every day, Friday and Saturday, 10:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. EST time. So that is Sherry's time. Yes, Sherry, I am currently conducting this from India. Sarvesh, your hand is raised. Sherry, your hand is raised, and Rengarajan, your hand is raised. Vikas is asking, do we need to install any tool, software in your laptop? Not yet, Vikas. Initially, it will be web-based, but then we will go into slightly complex command line part of Amazon, where I'll show you how to get on with your command line. Okay, Rengarajan, your hand is raised. So what I want to assure is, I know inside out of Amazon Web Services. Okay, so all your questions I can address, but since this course focuses on certain topics, I will focus my training on these topics so that your foundation is really, really good. Okay, so what I want to show you is the services offered by Amazon. Okay, see, just look at the screen. It has got compute service, storage service, database service, networking and content delivery service, migration service, developer tools, management tools, security and identity and compliance, analytics, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, contact center, game development, mobile services, application services, messaging, business and productivity, and desktop and app streaming. It is next to impossible for one person to master everything. And other companies like Microsoft Azure will be is offering only 20% of the services. So these are all huge services which Amazon has perfected over the years. So our course focuses on critical topics on this screen. Okay, so we will see how from tomorrow, but you need to sign up for your account. So you should visit console.aws.amazon.com website. Okay, let me type this on the slide. Just a second. So I request all of you to sign up for your account. Don't worry about the billing yet, but okay, so okay, Sandosh has got an account. So every participant should have your own Amazon account. Don't worry about billing. So when you play around, only go through the menus. Don't yet provision anything. Don't buy anything. So I will tell you how to carefully choose the free services initially. And Savan Kumar has a question. That is, where are these Puppet, Jenkins, container stuff used? Yes, if you sign up for the DevOps course of Tax Collabra, the Puppet, Jenkins, and Docker containers, etc., are taught. And answering your question, where are Puppet, Jenkins, and container stuff are used? They are used. They can be like Puppet is a provisioning tool or a configuration management tool. It can be used to provision virtual resources using Amazon, but it can also use to provision software within the environment. Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. It can also be used to provision, but generally it is used for pipeline automation, and containers are also used to install software. Then obvious saying, is stack not supported to get provisioning for us? What is the question? Obvious, but can you clarify your question? Savan Kumar is saying, will you be briefing about them in the course? I can make a note and brief you about Puppet, Chef, etc. But after we study AWS, okay, towards the end, I will brief you. But if you forget, please, Savan, you should remind me. So all the related tools, I will spend some time, try to explain. But after we really understand AWS well. Obvious, can you ask your question again? Shivang, what credentials I have to use for console login? You mean Amazon? You have to create your own account. Shivang. Obvious, what is your question? As you said, we need not to buy anything from AWS, and you will help us use free services. Yes, you sign up for AWS. When you sign up, you don't have to pay, but you may have to give your credit card details. But having said that, since you are already joining as an Amazon developer, you should be willing to invest small amounts to experiment their paid services as well. Otherwise, you will not get to know. No, obviously, TACT will not give you an Amazon account. Shivang, create account free of cost. Yes, but you may have to complete the billing process. You should have your own account. Shivang is asking, yeah, Santosh saying rupees 2 is billed. Yes, that may be for your credit card verification. So see, I must highlight here, you are entering a job market which is considered the most lucrative, our highest paying job market. So you should be willing to experience the Amazon features and create your own services and try them out yourself. Obvious, but what if you don't have a credit card? See, you have to have your own AWS account, otherwise it will be just like a video course. I want all of you to try the homework and do your services. Santosh is saying debit card also works. Thanks. So see now, see you have already invested for the course. My request is you have to be willing to spend time and a little bit of money, small amount of money, to experiment with the resources. But Amazon gives you many things free, so initially you don't have to spend anything. But like Santosh said, rupees 2 is billed to maybe for card verification. And also in the journey, you should have a good laptop, so that certain tools you can install and keep a good backup as well. Any other question? So be ready with the Amazon cloud account, and obviously what configuration laptop is required. If you are not installing VirtualBox, normal configuration is required, but as a cloud engineer, I recommend at least 8 GB RAM. Santosh, what are all certifications? See, at the end of the course, after you complete the exam of Collabra, you will get Collabra's attack certificate. But Amazon gives you additional certificates. Currently, they have 5+ certificates. There are very few people who pass these certifications, and they're immensely valuable. So you can target any of these Amazon certifications. You have to go through the syllabus and pursue your own explorations and study. But I will ensure that I will lay a very strong foundation so that probability of you learning further and passing the exam will be very high. Yes, total 8 certifications are there. They have added recently this year. They have added 3 more certifications, like big data and things like that. Which AWS certification? Like Amazon has got professional. Santosh is asking which. Like I currently have developer associate certificate. I request all of you to do the solutions architect associate certificate, because that will make you eligible to do this certificate. DevOps engineer professional. This Amazon recommends 2 years of experience before you sit for this exam, because this exam will expect your experience more than your technical understanding. So, but there are many people who pass this exam, and after 1 or 2 months they write this exam and pass as well. So this is considered one of the toughest exams in the IT industry. But I request all of you to, since you have taken up the challenge of studying Amazon Web Services, I request all of you to pursue to pass this and pursue to pass this as well. Then you can solidify your place in the job market and ensure that your career growth is. How much it costs? It costs, exam cost is $150, but you need to check up the cost, and the professional certification, this is $300 exam fee. And there are some conditions, like if you repeat, you can only repeat after few months or weeks, etc. So you need to go through that. It changes. For this and this, it is $150, but again you need to check the current pricing. Okay, any other question? So all set to start the AWS journey. And any books to refer for this course? You have no books to refer. You only need to watch this course and ask me questions and go through the presentation that I give you. For certification, there is no book. The syllabus will be given, and each of the topic that you need to study, Amazon documentation is there. And maybe you can ask Collabra if they have any certification, Amazon certification courses, if they're planned. Okay, so so we have to install, Mohit is asking, we have to install VirtualBox and sign up. No, you don't have to install VirtualBox, Mohit, for the course. But I request all of you to install VirtualBox, because it will allow you to play with other operating systems like Windows and Linux, etc. Like different flavors of Linux, like Ubuntu, CentOS, etc. So it is handy to experiment, but not required for this course. This course only will need a browser. Sarvesh, I have VMware installed. Okay, fine, Sarvesh. with 8 different OS. Very good, Sarvesh. Obvious, but can we have link or path to install VirtualBox? You mean download VirtualBox? You can just Google VirtualBox download, and the first link that you get will be VirtualBox. Deepak, other than Oracle, VMware box, which is best? See, I recommend VirtualBox because it is free, whereas VMware is not free. So that makes all the difference. Sarvish, your hand is raised. Anything you want to ask? Okay, great. So now let me summarize. The key thing that you need to remember is IaaS, Infrastructure as Service. So every course, end of the last 5 minutes, I'll summarize. So infrastructure of as services, giving hardware through the cloud. That is, you buy a computer, buy a disk space, or buy a network service, etc. from the cloud provider. That is called IaaS. Next is platform as a service. This may not be very clear to you or very easily obvious to you. Platform as a service gives you the operating environment as a service. Like you have a Java application which you want to upload or a Node.js application, you need a Node server. PaaS cloud provider will give you an environment where you can upload your application and run it. And next is software as a service. This you are already very familiar. This is like Dropbox, Gmail, and Google Drive. All these are software as a service where you use the provider's software. And here the cheapest option is IaaS, and most expensive option is SaaS. But when you say SaaS, when I say more expensive, why Gmail is free? Why Gmail is free? Can anyone say it should have been expensive, isn't it? Why Gmail is free then? Anyone? Any guess? Yes, it is free because Google's revenue model is through advertisement. So Google will give free service which we all use, and yes, up to certain disk space it is free, but Google will make money using advertisements, contextual advertisement. Google will know. Google will also search your message, subject, and content, and it will give you advertisement, and they make revenue out of advertisement. So even though many SaaS services are free, they make money by giving us free service by knowing our requirement. Sandeep, from taxes our government also pays them. I'm not sure about it. Yes, true. So what you must understand is your focus is on IaaS, which is the most complex thing, where you have to install the operating system, you have to provision using Chef, Puppet, or Ansible, and you have to automate it, you have to install. That is where your expertise as an AWS engineer comes in, and that is what our focus of the course is going to be. Okay, so IaaS and SaaS and PaaS, I hope these three terminologies are really clear to you. Next is vertical and horizontal scaling. These things are interview questions, definitely. So when will you need to vertically scale? When will you need to horizontally scale? Your answer should be, it depends on the application or depends on the requirement. Certain jobs will need single computer, like database server. You need a single computer in general. So you cannot horizontally scale easily. You need a powerful database server. But a web server or a front-end server or a content delivery server, you can horizontally scale. You can have thousands of servers delivering your content. So depending on the application, depending on the requirement, you will scale vertically or horizontally. But you must always remember the double-decker bus and normal bus. Both have its own requirement depending on the need. Any questions so far? So this sets a clear foundation for our journey. These terminologies we may come across as we progress, but otherwise I request is, after we complete 4, 5 or 6 sessions of Amazon, come back to this slide, and then you will notice that things have become much more clearer to all of you. Sarvesh, for load balancing we need horizontal scaling like cluster node. Exactly, Sarvesh. We will study that as well. Sai, what is the prerequisite for this training? Prerequisite for this training is Linux knowledge. If you know little bit of Linux, it is very good. Other than that, general computer literacy is required, but you are expected to be an engineer. Shivang, which Linux flavor to use? Any Linux flavor can be used. We will see that when we CentOS or Red Hat or Ubuntu. Yes, it can be any. Survey. So only Unix knowledge is required. Yes, only Unix knowledge is required. But if you know Linux and little bit of networking, it will become easier. But anyway, I will cover and I will simplify those areas. So the prerequisite, you are perfectly fine. Any, Sai, you have any question? Okay, so now I'm going to describe the conditions. Be on time. Yes, service. That is good. Your system admin experience will definitely help. Your prerequisite is your courage to experiment. So if Amazon launches a new service, try it out. Watching and listening and trying are completely different. When you try, you will really activate different areas of your brain and know things much better. And when in interview somebody asks you, have you provisioned EC2 instances? If you say yes, and interviewer will already know your experience by just looking at your face. So you have to try it out. And punctuality. So tomorrow sharp 8 o'clock I'll start. Okay. Okay, so thank you all for your questions and your excellent participation. And if you have any questions anytime during this training period about any slide, please feel free to ask, and you can always email tax support with your questions. Okay, so this support contact is there. You can shoot your question. Thanks, Sai. Thanks, Sarvesh. Yes, I'll be sharing the slides. Thank you, Mohit. Bye bye. I'm muting myself. Good day to all of you. Shivang, thanks. Kalaivani Tang, thank you. Bye bye. Anand, bye. Megha, bye. I'm muting.